The age when questions became dangerous. Imagine living in a world where even the simplest question, why does the sun rise, could be considered rebellious, even criminal. In 16th century Europe, curiosity was not just discouraged, it could be downright fatal. The dominant worldview, shaped by the church and ancient philosophers like Aristotle and Ptolemy, explained everything from the motion of the stars to the workings of the human body. To question these truths was to challenge the very order of society. But what if everything everyone knew was wrong? The scientific revolution began with just such dangerous questions, opening the door to a new era and forever transforming the way we understand our world. A world bound by certainty. Close your eyes and picture a world without doubt. A world where certainty is the law of the land, and every mystery has a preordained answer. For most of medieval and early modern Europe, this was the reality. The explanations for the grandest cosmic phenomena and the smallest workings of the body were set in stone, held aloft by the twin pillars of the church and the ancient philosophers. To be a scholar was to be a custodian of inherited wisdom, not a challenger of it. The sky turned as it always had, because God willed it so, and because Aristotle and Ptolemy had said it must. The heavens were immutable, the earth was the center, and humanity was at the heart of creation's purpose. But what happens to a society that builds its foundation on certainty? Questions become threats. Doubt becomes heresy. The simple act of wondering, of asking why, how, or what if, could strike fear into the hearts of those in power. In this climate, the act of questioning was not merely discouraged. It was policed, scrutinized, and, at times, punished with severity that seems unthinkable to us today. The cost of curiosity. Curiosity, that natural spark in every human mind, was a dangerous flame in 16th century Europe. To ordinary people, the risks were obvious. There are countless stories, some apocryphal, some painfully real, of thinkers who dared ask questions and paid a terrible price. The list includes not only the famous like Giordano Bruno, who was burned at the stake for his radical cosmological views, but also countless lesser-known scholars, physicians, and even students who faced censure, dismissal, or worse for stepping outside the accepted bounds of thought. It's easy to forget, in our age of instant information and constant questioning, just how perilous it once was to be curious. The machinery of social order was built on unquestioned truths that, if challenged, could threaten the authority of those who ruled both souls and states. The Church, in particular, held tremendous influence. Its teachings were not only spiritual guidelines but also scientific explanations, legal frameworks, and social blueprints. To challenge doctrine was to unweave the fabric of society itself. The weight of tradition. Why did the sun rise? Because it was ordained by God and described by Aristotle's philosophy, interpreted and guarded by the Church. The universe was seen as a perfect, harmonious hierarchy. Earth at the center, surrounded by crystalline spheres carrying the moon, the planets, and the fixed stars. Beyond these was the realm of the divine. Every feature of this system, every circle, every motion, was imbued with purpose and meaning. There was no room for randomness, no tolerance for error. Ancient authorities like Aristotle and Ptolemy provided the intellectual scaffolding, but it was the Church that enforced these views with the weight of tradition and, when necessary, the power of law. To question them was to risk not only intellectual ridicule, but excommunication, imprisonment, or execution. The act of doubt was conflated with sin and innovation with rebellion. For generations, this stifled the natural human urge to seek, to discover, to understand. The quiet rebels. Yet beneath the surface, the questions never stopped. In the quiet corners of monasteries, in the private studies of scholars, and in whispered conversations, curiosity smoldered. Some thinkers, like Copernicus, cloaked their doubts in careful, coded language, publishing revolutionary ideas only at the end of their lives or circulating them among trusted friends. Others, like Galileo, were less cautious and paid the price. The courage it took to ask, even silently, "What if everything everyone knows is wrong?" cannot be overstated. These early rebels were not just risking their reputations, they were risking their lives. Yet, the questions grew. Each small doubt, each careful observation that didn't quite fit the accepted model, became a crack in the edifice of certainty. The power of dangerous questions. What makes a question dangerous? It's not simply the act of asking, but the possibility that the answer could overturn everything. To ask why the sun rises or how the planets move was to risk unraveling the intellectual and spiritual order of the world. It was to suggest, even implicitly, that the authorities might be wrong, that the universe might be knowable in new ways through observation, experimentation, and reason. Such questions are the engines of progress. They are the seeds of every revolution, scientific or otherwise. Yet, in 16th century Europe, they were also the sparks that could ignite the fires of persecution. The opening of the door. When the first cracks appeared, they seemed small enough. A new star here, a strange planetary motion there. But each anomaly, each piece of evidence that didn't fit, invited a new question. What if the ancient models were incomplete? What if observation could reveal truths that tradition had missed? What if the universe was not as closed and determined as everyone believed? This process, the slow, dangerous accumulation of doubts and questions, was the true beginning of the scientific revolution. It was not a sudden explosion, but a gradual awakening as more and more people dared to look, to ask, to challenge. The door that had been shut for centuries began to open, just a crack at first, then wider, until the light of inquiry flooded in, transforming the world. The consequences of these dangerous questions were profound. Once the process of questioning began, it could not be stopped. Old certainties crumbled. New methods of investigation emerged. The scientific method, rooted in observation, experimentation, and skepticism, replaced blind faith in authority. The universe, once an inscrutable mystery, became a field of investigation. This transformation did not happen overnight, nor was it without pain. Many of those who asked the first questions paid dearly. But the world they helped to create, a world where questioning is celebrated, where doubt is the first step toward knowledge, was forever changed. A legacy of courage. Today we live in a world where questions are encouraged, where the search for truth is celebrated, and where the act of inquiry is protected by law. But it is worth remembering that this was not always so. The freedom to ask, to doubt, to challenge, to seek, was won by those who were willing to face persecution and even death. Their legacy is not just the body of scientific knowledge we now possess, but the spirit of curiosity and courage that made it possible. Every time we ask a question, every time we seek a new answer, we honor those who dared to question when it was most dangerous. Their story is a reminder that progress depends not on certainty, but on the willingness to wonder. Conclusion. The enduring power of curiosity. The age when questions became dangerous is not merely a distant chapter in history, it is a lesson for every generation. The world changes not because of those who are content with easy answers, but because of those who dare to ask the hard questions. The scientific revolution was born of such audacious curiosity, and its impact still echoes in every facet of our lives. So let us remember, the freedom to question is precious. It was bought with courage and conviction. And the next time you wonder about the world, remember those who risked everything to make your curiosity safe. The age when questions became dangerous is past, but the spirit of inquiry endures. It is up to us to keep it alive.